You are watching No Filter with Debbie. I'm Debbie Schlussel, and these are my views and opinions. Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie. I'm Debbie Schlussel, and you know what's driving me crazy? What's driving me crazy is that Governor Burgum extended the mask mandate and many other restrictions which are absurd and will kill businesses, and he extended this for another month. Now, we have had mask mandates and these limits in place for a month, and guess what they have done? Nada, nothing, zilch, zero. Yes, on down. Yes, we're not these things if we're going days in the nearly month, well, almost a month since we have had this mask mandate. As you will recall, the mask mandate was announced on Friday, November 13th. Yes, Friday the 13th. All right, so today is December the 10th. It has been almost a month, and cases have gone up, then they have gone down, and then they've gone up again. And if you go to the North Dakota COVID website, and I encourage you to do that, just look up North Dakota COVID website or North Dakota COVID statistics. The actual URL is too long for me to remember or say on the air, but just Google it. You will find it, and you will see a chart of the deaths in North Dakota. And the chart goes like this. And then it goes down a tiny bit. And then it goes like this. All right, so the fact is, it is not doing anything. We had our deadliest month in the month of the masks. Now, I know you could say, well, we had to give it a chance for the mask mandate to go into effect. True. So maybe the first 2 weeks of the mask mandate, cases might still go up. But now it's almost 4 weeks. And in the nearly 4 weeks, cases continue to go up. Yes, they go down, and then they go up, and then they go down, and then they go up again. As I have told you on this show several times, this is going to be cyclical. The whole country has a surge in cases. We are no different, and there are many states in the union with no mask mandates that are doing better than we are. For example, as I have said before, our neighbors to the south in South Dakota, and we showed you the statistics last week. I showed you the figures from North Dakota TV. They showed that they reported on what was going on in South Dakota, and they even acknowledged, yes, the liberal media, they showed that South Dakota's rate is lower than ours. And guess what? They have no masks there. And Kristi Noem, God bless her, she has not put in any lockdowns ever. And she's put in no new restrictions. In case you don't remember, I want to remind you what the governor's restrictions do, because this is not going to help things. So, for example, he is limiting bars and restaurants capacity to 50%. Now, they are barely surviving, and we told you about Ye Old Malt Shop in North Dakota, where they are barely able to sit 5 or 6 people per sitting. They cannot get by on 5 or 6 people. These are businesses that sell ice cream. People sit there, they eat their ice cream, they're hanging out with friends. You're not going to do business if you can only sit 5 to 6 people at a time. It's no good. And people come with their friends. So that includes 5 to 6 people, including people's friends. So you're going to have different parties coming, and they aren't going to be able to sit there. And you know what happens when they can't sit there? They don't buy ice cream. It's cold out. Although I know we're having the heat wave in North Dakota, so don't send mail about that. I know. But, so 50% capacity. Now, here's the part that absolutely makes no sense, and I've talked about this on the show before. He is saying that between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. there is no in-person service. So you know who that affects. Not really the restaurants, but the restaurant and bars, or just plain bars. That's who is hurting, because who's going to go to a bar before 10 p.m.? Some people, but not many people. A lot of people go to bars after 10 p.m. But guess what? Now that they can only go until 10 p.m., they're going to come earlier. And you know what's going to happen? people are not going to be able to get in. And you know what? They're not going to patronize the bars. But they're still going to have the full capacity that they're allowed, so 50% capacity between 4 a.m. and 10 p.m. And you know what? Yes, I know not a lot of people go to a bar at 4 a.m., but they are going to come after work. So let's say 5 o'clock for some people, 6 o'clock for others. It varies. But 6 to 10 p.m. is going to be very busy at these bars. And guess what? If you could catch COVID from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., you can catch COVID from 4 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. COVID does not know a time limit, so this does not make sense at all. These limits are just limits for the sake of him being able to say, I did something, because he has broken under pressure. Listen, I gave him a lot of credit for resisting the national media, for resisting the international media. But he apparently won't resist them anymore. And he definitely is not resisting the local media. That does not represent us. We in North Dakota are independent souls. We believe in freedom. We believe in personal responsibility. We don't believe in one size fits all. You know who does one size fits all? Communist countries, Marxist nations, places like Cuba, the former Soviet Union, China. Remember Fidel Castro putting people in prison for speaking, for saying something against him? That's not what we're about. And when you tell people you're going to limit their personal freedom with regard to this, it's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope when it comes to this, towards taking vaccines and so on. And we will talk about vaccines in a little bit. But so he's limiting in-person service at bars and restaurants from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. Now, he's also saying that large-scale venues are limited to 25% capacity. So that goes until January 8th. So all of these restaurants, all of these bars that do big business around the holidays, they're banking on Christmas, they're banking on New Year's, they're going to lose their shirts. Unless, and I don't know if this is covered by the governor's order, because it doesn't really, I looked at the order, does not really address it. But they can buy these igloos and huts. And as I've discussed with you on this show before, these igloos cost thousands of dollars depending on how big they are. Plus, you got to get a heater. And you know these outdoor heaters that a lot of these restaurants and bars are using around the country? Because they're all using them, they're in very, very short supply. You need a special kind of heater. Otherwise, it's going to release gases and fumes that are not healthy. It's going to melt the walls of these igloos. But I don't even know if these restaurants really can legally operate. I don't think they can operate with igloos and huts from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. And I don't know if it counts as capacity if you fill an igloo with 5 people from a family or 5 friends. I don't know if that counts as 100% capacity and violates this limit. So if you're a business, you're struggling to survive, you have to maybe invest thousands in an igloo. You don't even know if it's illegal. You have to track down one of these heaters. You are not going to find them. They are in very short supply. Google it. And you can't be open from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. And all of this applies for the busiest season for you of the year other than summer, the holiday season. People used to be shopping. They would stop for something to eat. They would stop for a beer. Maybe they get out of the stores at 9 p.m. Some of the stores are back to normal hours. And then they want to go eat and drink. They've got less than an hour by the time they get to the restaurant or the bar with these rules. This is a killer. So, yes, this is driving me crazy. And we'll get into more of this when we come back after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
For the greatest selection and full menu offering is the Four Seasons Restaurant and Ice Cream Parlor in Garrison. Succulent sandwiches, big breakfasts served all day, and delicious desserts. Easy access in and out for campers and RVs. The Four Seasons Restaurant at the top of Main Street, Garrison.
Are you a thrill seeker, sightseer, or day tripper? The Ford Bronco Sport SUV is built for you. Fort Bears Casino is giving away a 2021 Ford Bronco Sport loaded with a ton of interior space, safari-style roof, smooth suspension for any terrain, and easy-to-clean surfaces. Qualify now just by playing your favorite slots at Fort Bears Casino. Double points on Sundays. Also get in on Super Senior Wednesdays, slot turning Thursdays, and hot seats on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Spin into Fort Bears Casino and Lodge for chances to win.
Some things in life are hard. That's why banking shouldn't be. Cornerstone Bank.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. So before the break, we were talking about the governor's extension of the mask mandate, which is a false name for this because it's not just a mask mandate. As I said before the break, this is an attack. It's an assault, a frontal assault on bars and restaurants in North Dakota. It is basically a way to put them out of business. And he's supposed to be a business person who understands how businesses operate. But his business was software. So he wrote a software program. He sold it for billions or multi-millions or however much. He's a billionaire. He cannot relate to these small businesses that are never going to be able to sell their restaurant to Microsoft for $1 billion. They're not going to be able to do it. They're struggling to survive, and he has no idea what it takes. So he was scheduled to have to make a decision by Sunday. That's when the mandate expires. So Sunday is the 14th. He extended this till January 8th, and he said it was a shorter extension, recognizing the economic impact of that the restrictions have placed on businesses. Shorter, the 14th till the 8th, that's more than 3 weeks. So it's not really shorter. When all is said and done, from November 13th to January 8th, that's going to be about 2 months. Give or take some change, a few days. It's 2 months. For all intents and purposes, he is repeating what he did. It is not shorter. Shorter would be a week longer. Shorter would be a few days longer, maybe even 10 days longer. This is nearly a month longer. It's almost doubling what he did. Now, let's look at the numbers a little bit more closely. In October, there were 297 deaths from COVID in North Dakota. In November, there were 448, and that includes more than 2 weeks, so 17 days of the mask mandate and the limiting. So far in December, there have been to date 94 deaths in North Dakota from COVID. If we're to believe that these are all really from COVID, and many of them have comorbidities, many of these people are in their 80s and 90s. So with 94 deaths to date, today is December 10th, we are on track to have 300 deaths in December with this mask mandate, with these limited hours. Without the mask mandate, without the limited hours, without the limited capacity, in October we had 297. So that's less than what we're on track to do here in December with no mandates whatsoever. What does that tell you? It tells you it does not work. Again, South Dakota, they have none of this. Florida, none of this. And guess what? Both states have fewer deaths than we do. Now, you could argue, well, North Dakota has more testing per capita, and we're just discovering more than they are, and they probably have a lot more cases of COVID. They just don't know it. But look at the deaths. You don't need tests for the deaths. And we are beating both those states in deaths. And the other thing is, North Dakota does have more older people per capita, more senior citizens than any other state in the union. So of course we would have more deaths. And this mandate, this policy, does not take that into account. What he should have said is, if you are 70 years old or older, don't go to bars or restaurants. That's what he should have said. And he shouldn't have even ordered it, because we live in a free country, or at least we used to. But that's what's going on here. Now, today, there were 30 new deaths reported, 24 new hospitalizations. So everything has gone up again. Again, with a month of this mask mandate and these limits. It hasn't changed anything. It just hasn't. Now, I want to go through with you some of the deaths. I'm looking here to report from the state website. Man in his 90s. These are the deaths. Man in his 90s, woman in her 90s, woman in her 90s, man in his 80s, man in his 70s, woman in her 80s, woman in her 80s, woman in her 80s, man in his 80s, man in his 80s, man in his 70s. I feel like I'm doing an auction here, and I'm sorry. I feel sorry for these people and their families. But they all fit a profile. Man in his 70s, woman in her 90s, man in his 60s. So that's one of the aberrations. Woman in her 90s, man in his 80s, man in his 50s. So there are two aberrations here, and I'll bet you anything they have comorbidities. But the state of North Dakota has stopped reporting the comorbidities. Why? Because they don't want people to know that if you're healthy and you are in your 50s or 60s, probably nothing is going to happen to you. If you get COVID, you will recover. Unless you do have these comorbidities, that is different. Even Dave Ondal, if you look at his pictures, he probably was a little overweight. I don't recall if he had comorbidities, but I believe he did other than that. And that's why that happened to him. The man who was going to be the next representative from District 8 who passed away, and the governor had to fill his seat. So that is what's going on with North Dakota with this mask mandate. I just think it makes no sense. It's terrible for businesses. And one other thing. So my native state is Michigan. We all know about Gretchen Whitmer, the governor nanny. She is the self-appointed nanny of everybody in Michigan. She had some of the toughest restrictions in the country on Michigan. She put in another lockdown. There are right now still some of the toughest restrictions. Restaurants are not allowed to be open. They're only allowed to serve carryout, and they are dying. They're suffering. But some of Governor Burgum's restrictions go beyond hers. Restaurants and bars are allowed to sell food to go, and they're allowed to be open beyond 10 p.m. In North Dakota, they aren't. It doesn't make sense. So those are the numbers in North Dakota. In California, we know that they also have very tough restrictions now. I want you to watch this video from Dr. Wilma Wooten, the public health officer of San Diego. Look what she has to say.
I don't have before me right now any data to compare where we were at this same time last year, when we have a very severe flu season, which we had 17-18. we were very close to where we are right now. So we've been in this situation before, but the great thing for the public to know is that the hospital is able to adjust and adapt. And as was stated, we can sustain this type of impact for a short period of time, but not for a sustained long period of time. So that's why we are making all of the suggestions, and also why the state has implemented the stay-at-home order, so we can allow the entire system to adjust, and as we say, the curve can be flattened.
All right, so I think we're now into like day 270 of the 14 days of flattening the curve. Remember that? Remember that flattening the curve? I forgot about it, but she just mentioned it again. Didn't we already flatten the curve? Wasn't the whole idea that hospitals were going to be overwhelmed, or they were overwhelmed, and we wanted hospitals not to be overwhelmed? Now, recently with this surge, they tell us hospitals are still overwhelmed, but if you look and Google this and look at, I'm not talking about conservative media outlets, just mainstream media outlets, look at them. They all tell you that, yes, maybe for a few days here and there they were overwhelmed and didn't have room. Many hospitals now do have room. And so she is still telling us, she said in that video that it is like the flu. You heard her, you saw her. It's like the seasonal flu, but she's still telling us we have to have all these restrictions. It makes no sense. She's admitting this is like the flu. All right, when we come back, I'm going to show you a video of a very heroic sheriff. And then the vaccines. Could you be forced to take one? Could Joe Biden force you to take one? That and more after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
In southwestern and south central North Dakota, on any given day at any given moment, a Dakota Community Bank and Trust customer is logging in or signing on to do their online or mobile banking. We believe that community banking can blend both the past with down-home customer service in-house and the future with modern banking conveniences and technology for our customers anywhere, like here or here, all while honoring our long-standing tradition of community-first oriented banking here at Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
My wife was diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's. We talked about it and we kind of decided we'd be a little bit proactive and try to start making provisions. So we started looking here, and Eventide worked out to be pretty much the perfect answer. I guess I didn't expect it to be so nice. The staff here are terrific. We enjoy it.
They say when the going gets tough, the tough get going. At OK Tire, we're here to keep you going. From Firestone tires and replacements to retreads and even Firestone tracks, we have you covered. Our certified Firestone experts are ready to get you back up and running, no matter if you're on site or in the field, saving you time and money. OK Tire, we keep the tough going.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Kohler Samurai and the innovative VRT Renegade, as well as the best-built, best-backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. So last week, I believe it was, may have even been the week before, but we talked about many of the sheriffs in North Dakota who said they will not enforce the governor's mask mandate. They said they're not going to put people in jail and take money from them in a time when things are already so tough, and they just said they won't do it. We had the sheriff of Hettinger County that said that. We've had several others, and they are the heroes because they are bucking the trend. They're bucking the conventional wisdom and the popular viewpoint. That takes guts. You know, don't look at the people who go with the flow. Look at the people who go against the flow and do what they think is right. Those are the good people. Those are the people you want in office. Those are the people you want running the show. For a while, I thought Governor Burgum was one of those people, but now he has stopped bucking the trend and he's gone on the bandwagon with everybody else. So I want to show you this video. This is California's Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco. Watch what he has to say about enforcing Governor Newsom in California, his restrictions.
We have all recently learned of the new It wasn't that long ago, our same governor loudly and publicly argued how wrong it was for the President of the United States to withhold federal funding from states not complying with federal laws. The dictatorial attitude toward California residents while dining in luxury, traveling, keeping his business open, and sending his kids to in-person private schools is very telling about his attitude toward California residents, his feelings about the virus, and it is extremely hypocritical. These closures and stay-at-home orders are flat out ridiculous. The metrics used for closures are unbelievably faulty and are not representative of true numbers and are disastrous for Riverside County. When the medical field is so split about this virus, it might be time to employ a little common sense. Keeping money and support from our hospitals, who are struggling with normal, seasonal increases in patients, coupled with COVID-19 patients, is irresponsible. It appears part of the new goal is to shift attention away from his and others' personal behavior with a do as I say, not as I do attitude by turning public opinion against California sheriffs. He is expecting us to arrest anyone violating these orders, cite them and take their money, close their businesses, make them stay in their homes, and take away their civil liberties, or he will punish all of us. I believe that all jobs are essential to someone. Leaders do not threaten, attempt to intimidate, or cause fear. Bullies do. As has been our position from the beginning of this pandemic, the Sheriff's Department is asking and expecting Riverside County residents to act responsibly and do what they can to protect themselves and their family from contracting the virus. Wear your mask and practice social distancing. While the governor's office and the state has threatened action against violators, the Riverside County Sheriff's Department will not be blackmailed, bullied, or used as muscle against Riverside County residents in the enforcement of the governor's orders. I wish you all a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a safe and Happy New Year.
Right on. So that is the kind of speech we saw last week when I showed you what Tom McClintock, the congressman from California, had to say. This is the same attitude that, as I said, some of the North Dakota sheriffs had and have right now, and it is very important because in this very dark time, to me, the darkest thing of all is these sheeple in office, sheeple who have power, and because they have power, they go with what everybody else wants, and they take your individual freedoms away. And the people that are the heroes, as I said earlier, are the ones who buck that trend. The ones who say, no, I'm not going to go with everybody else. No, I'm going to keep you free. I'm not going to bully you, and I won't be bullied. So that guy, kudos. We need 1 million more people like him. We've got to start here in North Dakota with all those independent-minded sheriffs. We need to keep going. There are too many Gavin Newsoms. There are too many Gretchen Whitmers. And yes, there are even too many Governor Burgums in this country. And we need this to stop. We need our freedom back. How long are we going to do this? Are we going to wait until the fall of 2021? Are we going to go more than a year like this? The other thing is the vaccines. Are you going to take a vaccine? What if you don't? What if a lot of people don't? I said on this show I would not take the vaccine. And I said that I would not take it, not because I don't believe in vaccines. Some of them work. Some of them don't. I defended people who did not want their children to take the HPV vaccine, which has made a lot of kids sick, or at least some very sick. And also, it's basically the go have sex with no problem vaccine. You don't want to give that message to your kids. I've supported people's right even not to take vaccines that I believe are important as a public health policy. The measles and mumps vaccines, which my mom took me to get as a kid. I believe those are important. The polio vaccine, but I also told you on the show that the original polio vaccine was not a good vaccine. And in fact, a lot of people who took it, their kids, a lot of parents who had their kids take it, those kids got polio. Many of them became disabled. Some of them died. But then they had the second polio vaccine. They perfected it. And that vaccine actually did work, and we have mostly eradicated it, at least in the Western industrialized world. There is polio in other places, like in China and so on. But I do believe that if you don't want to take a vaccine, you should have that freedom. Unfortunately, I'm not so sure we'll have that freedom. So I asked you before the break, will you have to take a vaccine? Will Joe Biden force you to take one? Well, he has said so far that he will not. He has said that he doesn't believe Americans should be forced to take a vaccine. He hopes everyone, or the vast majority, will take it. But here's the problem. Many of us may not. I don't think I will, because the reason I've said I won't take it is because it's been rushed. And just like the first polio vaccine was rushed, it wasn't good. There are no long-term studies. The problem is if we don't take the vaccine, Joe Biden can change his tune. We know he's a liar. We know also he doesn't remember from one minute to the next where he is, who he is, or what he's going to do. He's changed his tune back and forth at his whatever's convenient for him on a whim on fracking. He's changed his position on a whim on something very important in North Dakota besides fracking, which is important to us, and that is fossil fuels. He has changed his mind repeatedly. So he could change his mind on this, and he could require us to take it. When we get back, I'll show you somebody else who would like to require us to take it. And it just shows what happens to people and how nutty they get when they marry billionaires. That and more after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
Howdy folks, it's the County Line Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bussin' breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at a salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous County Line burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon rattling pie with a comb roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the County Line.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
For the greatest selection and full menu offering is the Four Seasons Restaurant and Ice Cream Parlor in Garrison. Succulent sandwiches, big breakfasts served all day, and delicious desserts. Easy access in and out for campers and RVs. The Four Seasons Restaurant at the top of Main Street, Garrison.
Are you a thrill seeker, sightseer, or day tripper? The Ford Bronco Sport SUV is built for you. Four Bears Casino is giving away a 2021 Ford Bronco Sport loaded with a ton of interior space, safari-style roof, smooth suspension for any terrain, and easy-to-clean surfaces. Qualify now just by playing your favorite slots at Four Bears Casino. Double points on Sundays. Also get in on Super Senior Wednesdays, slot turning Thursdays, and hot seats on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Spin into Four Bears Casino and Lodge for chances to win.
Some things in life are hard. That's why banking shouldn't be. Cornerstone Bank.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. So before the break, I asked you, would you take the vaccine? And I also said, or asked, posed the question, could Joe Biden force you to take it? And as I said before, he said he won't. He doesn't see that happening. He could change his mind. Here's why I think he won't and where he will run into roadblocks. I don't think it's legal. I think it would have to be far worse. I think we would not have doctors like that woman from San Diego I showed you before the break saying that this is like the seasonal flu. We would have to have massive deaths, massive. And yes, I know 3,000 plus deaths a day is a lot. It's very bad. I recognize that. But we would have to be a lot worse for him to be allowed to do a national mandate. I don't think legally it would ever go anywhere. There would be a zillion lawsuits. Thank God for that. There would be many people who believe in individual freedoms who would go to court and stop this. And I don't think the U.S. Supreme Court would stand for that. I really don't. I don't think he has any grounds to do it. Now, could governors do it? Possibly they could. But again, I think the same thing would happen, and it would end up in the U.S. Supreme Court. I don't think he has the power to do it. Now, if he declared martial law, he could do that. And who knows what he will do? You know, everybody was saying, oh, Donald Trump's going to do that. Donald Trump's going to do that. I never for 1 second feared that President Trump would declare martial law. He actually has shown that he cares about our individual freedoms, despite what the media would tell you. I fear, though, that the Democrats would do that because they don't care about our freedoms. We see that with all the Democrat governors around the country, and that's a preview for what Biden officials will do. So, could you be forced to take it? Probably not by the government, but here's what I'm afraid is going to happen, and we previewed this on the show earlier. So, in a previous episode, in London, in Great Britain, there are a lot of sports stadiums, there are a lot of other places, concert venues, that have announced that they will require you to show your papers, you know, like the Nazis or the communists, the East Germans would show us your papers, show us your papers. That's what they will do. And you have to show your papers that you took the vaccine. Now, I'm sure there will be a huge market for forgeries of those papers. That's what's going to happen. When you do stuff like this, you create a black market for forgeries. You're not going to solve anything or stop the problems of COVID. You're not going to get more people who don't want to take the vaccine to take it. You just won't. And this is what the liberal folly. They think that they have the power, but really, even though they have the power, they really don't have the power. Because you know where the power is? The power is up here. The power is in my head. It's in your head. And we are not going to take the vaccine even if they force us to. So, you know who else can force you? And this is really what I'm worried about. Employers. So, you are struggling to survive. You're lucky you got a job, or you still have a job, or you just found a job. And your employer says, you know what? I decided I'm going to force all of my employees to take the vaccine. And if they don't take it, you're fired. And you know what? Most states in the country are at-will states. North Dakota is an at-will state. If you refuse to do something, they can fire you. They can fire you for that reason or no reason at all, so long as it's not a reason covered by civil rights law, like the basis of your religion, on the basis of your religion, your race, ethnicity, and so on, gender. They can force you to take it or say you're out of a job. And you have to be prepared that you may lose your job at some employers. I don't think this will happen in North Dakota, but in other places, I do think employers may do this because of all the whiners, all the people who think the sky is falling and that they're going to die instantly, like these drama queen teachers I told you about who are writing wills and obituaries. It's an act. But these people with their acts and their drama queen behavior, they're the ones that force companies to do this. Because I'll tell you what, companies are afraid of liability. And if they force you to take the vaccine, maybe they're covered. They can say, we forced them to take the vaccine. They showed us their papers. And that is the problem. That's why Mitch McConnell wants immunity in the next round of COVID relief, and the Democrats don't want immunity for employers. But any of these employers can be sued, and that's why you may be forced to take these vaccines to keep your job. Especially even if you live in North Dakota, but you work for one of these national companies, they may say, well, we don't care about North Dakota. We don't care what they think. We're in New York, or we're in California, or we're in Texas, wherever they are. This is what I worry about. Our freedoms are at stake. Now, I don't worry about this woman, but she has way too much influence, and I'll tell you who it is in a second. But, you know, billionaires. Billionaires, they usually, I'm not a surface person. I'm not a shallow person. I believe that what's inside of you is much more important than the way you look, how you dress, and so on. But we are in a very vain society. Usually you see a billionaire and they marry a model. Look at Donald Trump, married to Melania. Look at any of these billionaires. They are married to models or celebrities who look like models, whatever. But then you've got Bill Gates, and he married this. Watch what she has to say.
And so the world needs to put up more money to make sure that low-income countries can get the vaccine.
The president just signed an executive order to try to put Americans at the front of the line when it comes to vaccines. Granted, it doesn't really have any teeth because pharmaceutical companies have already made deals and guarantees with other nations around the world. But I just wonder if that's what you were worried about when you kept saying and warning against vaccine nationalism.
That's exactly what we were worried about. Instead, what should be done is the Defense Production Act, which is they should be scaling up lots and lots of manufacturing so that not just the U.S. gets vaccines, but everybody gets vaccines. So this reservation system is exactly the type of thing we were concerned about.
Well, what did you think when you heard the president say that?
I knew it was coming, and I was just incredibly disappointed. I'm much more optimistic about the president-elect and the COVID task force, this eminent task force that he's put together. I think we're going to see a lot more sensible policy making in the United States. But that starts, January 20th, and we have still some dark months to live ahead till then.
Have you been speaking to the president-elect directly?
Yes, we have.
So what did you and maybe you and Bill...
All right, so we didn't hear her answer. I'm sorry, that was the video we found online. We don't know what her answer is. And really, I don't care what she was discussing with Joe Biden, she and Bill Gates. That was Melinda Gates, in case you didn't get that from the bottom of the screen. And she is married to Microsoft founder and billionaire Bill Gates. So, you know what? A woman marries a billionaire and she gets a little nutty and stupid, apparently, or at least in her case, she she has said before, she and her husband want us all to be forced to take the vaccine. Now, I don't believe that it's some conspiracy theory from them to plant chips in our head or poison us or anything like that. I don't believe that about them. I don't like them. I don't like that they're involved in anything. Why? Because they have a lot of money. What is their expertise in epidemiology, in infectious diseases? They have zero. They just have money. That's it. And unfortunately, money talks, as we know. And I wish I could say baloney walks, but in that case, baloney gets a TV interview as if she's some sort of expert. So she wants us all to take the vaccine, and there you saw, she also not only wants us all to take the vaccine, she wants us to take it last. She wants it all ways, because she wants other countries, after our money went to this research, we have contracts with these companies. She is into this term that I told you about weeks ago called vaccine nationalism, where we're the bad guys because we want America first. But that's why President Trump got elected. America first. And believe you me, most of these people that voted for Joe Biden, except the ones that hate our country and hate themselves, they want America first too. All right, when we come back, we will talk about some of Joe Biden's cabinet picks, Representative Eric Swalwell, Fung Fung's boyfriend, and some more interesting stories you won't see anywhere else after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
Howdy, folks. It's a Caroline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bossin breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at a salad bar. Sink your teeth into our famous Caroline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the game. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink for trusted manufacturers for the chef in all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
My wife was diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's. We talked about it and we kind of decided we'd be a little bit proactive and try to start making provisions. So we started looking here, and Eventide worked out to be pretty much the perfect answer. I guess I didn't expect it to be so nice. The staff here are terrific. We enjoy it.
They say when the going gets tough, the tough get going. At OK Tire, we're here to keep you going. From Firestone tires and replacements to retreads and even Firestone tracks, we have you covered. Our certified Firestone experts are ready to get you back up and running, no matter if you're on site or in the field, saving you time and money. OK Tire, we keep the tough going.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Kohler Samurai and the innovative VRT Renegade, as well as the best built, best backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. So Joe Biden is announcing more and more of his cabinet picks, and it is more and more Obama's third term, only worse. A lot of the same people. We told you about Tom Vilsack the other day. We told you about some of the others that have been recycled. Now he has announced that Dennis McDonough, who was at one time Obama's chief of staff, is going to be the secretary of the Veterans Administration, and also now Susan Rice, who was at one time his national security advisor and a UN representative. She was nominated today to head the White House Domestic Policy Council. So she messed up our international affairs. Now she wants to mess up America from within. Before she messed up the world from our vantage point, now she's going to mess up this. By the way, she was very big into not only doing this horrible deal with Iran, but she was also very big into spying on Donald Trump. She is one of the people that was named in the classified documents that were declassified by Richard Grenell, who was in charge of intelligence for a while. And she was one of the people on that list, one of the 50-something people, she and Joe Biden, who asked to unmask who was allegedly a spy, Carter Page, and also to spy on others like General Flynn, the president, and so on. So this is not a good person. She okayed spying on a president. Who knows what kind of damage she will do running our domestic policy. There should not even be a domestic policy. America is built on a domestic policy. It's called the free market. It's called capitalism. People like this try to destroy that, and they kill jobs. That's what they do. All right, so that's that. Now, Hunter Biden says that he is under investigation and has been from the IRS over his taxes. Well, it's about time. The problem is, don't hold your breath for anything to happen to him. You know, the minute his father becomes president, that is all going to end, or he's going to be cleared. You know that's going to happen. So don't think that in a Biden administration they're going to do anything to the son of Joe Biden. All we ever heard about was the Trump kids this, the Trump kids that. What we should have been hearing about was Hunter Biden, and we'll never hear about it during the next 4 years, except from conservative media. Just believe it and watch it and see it, or not see it. Eric Swalwell. So today is, I think, day three and a half since it was announced at night. I think two or three nights ago. Eric Swalwell had an affair with this Chinese spy, Feng Feng, goes by the name Christine. Today is day 3.5 where he won't talk about his sexual relationship with that woman, Ms. Feng, and he wants to know why it was leaked and how. He's calling for an investigation. Are you serious? They should be calling into an investigation about why he got a defensive briefing, why he wasn't charged, what information he gave this woman. It has now come out this woman got him to hire an intern at her request, a Chinese spy. Also, Nancy Pelosi is defending him. Like I said, in another day and age, his own party leaders would be calling for his resignation, and he would have been gone within an hour or two of this story. Not going to happen now. Pamela Anderson, she is back. Remember her, the Baywatch babe? Well, now she's posing in her suit again, her swimsuit. She is sending out tweets of herself in her swimsuit. Go online and look. What is she saying? She's sending them to President Trump. As you know, he has the pardon power. She wants him to pardon Julian Assange, the former head of WikiLeaks and one of its founders. Now, I'm against this. I don't understand why so many conservatives support this guy. He founded WikiLeaks with the avowed goal of bringing down the United States of America. He has disclosed more secrets about our national security apparatus, about our defense around the world, our troop buildups, things like that. This is classified information. He has hurt America. He also released documents about troops still in Iraq over the years, when we had a lot of troops there, and we still do, and in Afghanistan, put them in danger. A guy like this should serve time behind bars. He should be behind there for life. What he did, even though he's not an American, it is the equivalent of committing treason. And he should be behind bars. Pamela Anderson's request from President Trump to President Trump should be ignored. I don't care that she's in love with him. Ignore this airheaded celebrity's calls. And by the way, she's a leftist vegan nut job. Don't listen to her. All right. So finally, I got to do this story because I just can't believe this woman. The Bismarck city attorney. I told you about Renee Mock, the North Dakota health official. She was whining to the national media, the New York Times, MSNBC, NBC News, about how she's under attack and she can't take it. Now we have Bismarck City Attorney Janelle Combs also. I have a message for anybody that's in public office or who is in an office where you are a public official, you work for a city, you're on the public payroll. If you can't take the heat, stay out of the kitchen. Get a thicker skin. This woman says she's mad. She says that she has been insulted. People on social media and email have attacked her, and they've included actual threats of harm. We don't condone threats of harm. That should not happen. But she and Renee Mock have been complaining that they've been called a tyrant, they've been called Nazis, they've been called names. So what? That's part of your job. That's the way it goes. You make controversial decisions, you make controversial statements about taking away people's freedoms, and you expect them to say, oh, I'm going to bend over, give me another. Nobody says that. Nobody does that. Not if they have any self-respect. People value their own freedom. If you don't like it, just stop. Get out of your job. Quit. Find something else to do. She's a lawyer. She can get a job somewhere else. So she's filed a police complaint, and she's whining to local media. Oh, I feel so sad for her. No. Get a new job, develop a thicker skin, stay out of the kitchen. Remember, things are not always as they seem. See you tomorrow.